Alright, are we ready? This says you need to solve this thing for n. Now, I want you people to get highlighters out. Where are highlighters in this classroom for me? They're right here in this lovely little box. So you need one. Can you guys share one?
How about if I got it, like, highlighted, same thing?
If you're sitting beside someone who has their hand raised, share. Because that's all she wrote, man. Mama only has so many. Okay, now, with that said, what we're doing today is we are solving for the specified variable. In this case, the variable is n. So what I want you guys to constantly do is I want you to highlight n. Why do I want you to highlight n? Because you're used to solving for x. And x normally has no letters in it except for the letter x. True statement? Okay, today we have nothing but letters in it, which means you guys need to focus on what you're solving for. Now, whenever we solve for equations, how do we normally solve for equations? What did we do? Has to do with order of operations. What did we do with PEMDAS? Which direction did we work PEMDAS? We always work PEMDAS from left to right. When we're solving equations, which direction do we work in? From the bottom to the top, right? Okay? Remember we talked about this. I said, you are unwrapping a birthday or a Christmas present, right? And you're trying to get it all undone without turning it into paper, right? So you have to do, your first step has to be their what? Their last step. Well, what is their last step when doing order of operations? When doing order of operations, what is their last step? What is the last step right here? Addition or subtraction, right? So what we want to do is we want to get rid of the junk that's attached to the letter n by addition or subtraction. So what's attached to the letter n? How is that attached to it? 1/2 is attached by multiplication. Am I supposed to do that first, or am I supposed to do what's attached by addition or subtraction? Oh, how's the 5c attached? It is a positive 5c, correct? So how do I take it over to the other side? Subtract 5c. So I'm going to subtract 5c from both sides. That's gone, and I'm left with negative 1/2 dn is equal to, what's 3 cats minus 5 cats? 2 cats. Nope. Negative 2 cats. See, I have 2 dead cats. Sorry. Well, if they're negative, what else do you want me to say? They ran away. Okay, we have 2 stray cats. Okay, with that said, now what is attached to the n? Find the n. Highlight it again. Why am I asking you to highlight it? So that you are continually putting in your face what you need to solve for. So what's attached to the n? Negative 1/2 d. Now, typically, how is the negative 1/2 d attached to the n? By multiplication. So how do you undo multiplication? You divide. Now, here's the nasty thing. I'm dividing by a fraction, right?
Yeah.
When you divide by a fraction, what does that mean? Multiplying by the reciprocal. What you guys all have a tendency to do is you jack this step up. So what do I suggest you do? Instead of doing it in one step, do it in 2 steps. What I want you to do is to get rid of the number first. So how do I get rid of that negative 1/2? We've already said it. Divide by negative 1/2, which means you're multiplying by the reciprocal. So what is the reciprocal of negative 1/2?
2.
So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by negative 2 on both sides. Because we're just slowly getting rid of every single thing attached to it. Like, pick up your pencil and write. So these are gone, and the negative and negatives cancel out. I'm left with dn is equal to negative 2c and negative 4 give me positive 4c. Look, they came home, the 2 little cats. They brought some more. Okay? So now, what am I solving for? Solving for n. Let's highlight that so that we can pull that out with our eye and say what's attached to the n. How's it attached? What's the opposite? So I'm going to simply divide both sides by d. So n is equal to 4c over d. Done. Do we understand that problem, yay or nay? Visual or verbal, I need to know. Yeah. Miss Fish, do you understand? Yeah. What did I get?
Yes. I got the right answer.
Okay.
I got the right answer the first time.
You got a girl. Number 4. Number 4. Okay, what am I solving for? I have y. So how many y's do I have in here?
2.
I have 2 y's. Now I want you to think about this. Okay? How many of you in here have siblings? Okay? How many of your parents have done like a head check whenever y'all get in the car and make sure that you're all there? You just turn around and count. See, I have 4 kids, so there's oftentimes if I say their names, that can take a while. So I just do 1, 2, 3, 4, and make sure I have them. Okay? Now, with that said, if I say go get in the car, we're all the same family, right? My kids are my family, right? Your siblings are your family. Now, what's in common between AY and BY? The Y. So we can say they're what?
Related.
They're related because they have something in common, correct? Now I'm going to show you this 2 ways because your brain may not think like my brain. And if you can't get out of these 2 ways, then this one is up to that. So with that said, if you are siblings, what you have in common is, generally speaking, let's say for this example, is your last name, correct? So what they have in common here is if I were to add these together and put parentheses around them, I would have A minus B, Y is equal to C. Because that Y would represent their last name. For example, my children would be called Holden and Caleb, Yoder. That Y would represent the Yoder, and the A would represent my first son, the B would represent the second son. Does that make sense? Because those are what we call what? Yes, but the AY and the BY are called what mathematically? What mathematical terms are they? What? They're variables, but more importantly, you can CLT. What's CLT? CLT. Think mathematically. Combine like terms. So what you're telling me is that AY and BY are like terms, even though we don't know what A is and we don't know what B is. Do we understand that? Yes or no? Okay? Now, another way that I'm going to show you to think about that is to say, in the video, I talked about going fishing, right? When you go fishing, you put your lovely little, what do you call that? Yeah, pole, swing it out there, cast it, yay, nay. And we want to pull out what's in common between the 2 things. So what's in common between the 2 things then? If I pull out what's in common, I am pulling out a Y out of here, and if I do that, what's left? A minus B is equal to C. Now, do you know what property that is? It's the distributive property backwards, which means what we did is we factored. See, I showed you 2 different ways to think of it, didn't I? One is the concept of them being like terms, right? Keeping that Y at the very end, meaning it's the distributive property with the Y on the right side. Your brain's thinking like terms. And then I showed you the second method, meaning you're going fishing and you're pulling out what's in common between the 2 things, which means it's the opposite of the distributive property, meaning factoring. Do you understand that, yay or nay? Now, which method would I really prefer you to get used to? Fishing. Really want you to start factoring out. You're going to hear that word factor. When I say factor, that means you're going to pull out what's in common. So I'm going to continue on with this example. Now, what am I solving for? Solving for Y. So highlight that. And have what is attached to the Y? What is attached to the Y? I'm sorry? Thank you, it's A minus B. Now, I'm going to be extremely picky about this because whenever something is attached by subtraction, it's what I call the head and the body. What do I mean by the head and the body? They're connected. Can y'all walk around the school without your head attached to your body? What's going to happen? No, you're not a chicken, sweetheart. That's not going to work. Which means you cannot do that, correct? All right? Wherever A goes, what has to go with it?
B.
Not just B,
Negative.
but minus B. Do we understand that? It is one entity, it goes together. So whenever you would hear me say the head and the body, that means they cannot be separated ever, ever, ever. Y'all with me? Okay. So with that said, what is attached to the Y again? How do I get rid of A minus B? Divide by it because I want to isolate Y. I want Y all by itself. He's the Lone Ranger. Bad boy plays by himself. You get what I'm saying? So we have to get rid of what's attached to it. So the way I'm going to do that, it's attached by multiplication. So I'm going to divide by it on both sides. That's gone, and I'm left with y is equal to c over a minus b. How many of you got that? You can keep the parentheses if you want. It's kind of a mouth point. It doesn't really matter. Be there? Cannot be there. Okay? Do we all understand that? Yay or nay?
Yeah.
Magnificent. Moving right along, number 6. Now, what am I solving for here? W. So what do? Find a W. Well, here's a W, and here's a W. Whoa, what does that mean immediately? No, it's not okay. It means we have to do favorite pastime. What do we need to do?
Solve
Go fishing, right? As soon as you see that there are more than one variable that you're solving for, we have 2, I immediately need to say to myself, oh, I gotta go fishing. Meaning I gotta pull out what's in common, correct? I cannot pull out what's in common until what? Which means I need to bring these items on the same side. Now, which one would be smarter for me to pull? The 2DW or the EW? I want to take the W's and put them on the same side. So we already have a 3 on the left, so we're just going to leave that there. And how do I bring over the 2DW? Why do I subtract it, Caitlin? Because it is positive already. So working from left to right, this is gone, and I'm left with negative 3 is equal to ew minus 2DW. Come on, seriously. Y'all need to wake up. There you are. Okay, now, what am I solving for? What do I do again? I need to highlight it, and because I have 2 of them, I need to go fishing. Because since there's 2, that means they have something in common, and what they have in common is I love the little W. So if I go fishing and I yank out my W, what am I left with?
E minus
E minus 2D. Excellent job, guys. Oopsie. It'd be much more better if I can write what I said. Now what? What am I solving for? I'm so very proud of you. Don't leave a woman hanging on this. You did your work. That a boy. You rock. I know. Okay. Now, we're solving for W. So if I'm solving for W, what's attached to it? E minus 2D. So how do I get rid of it? Divide by the quantity E minus 2D. Again, you can keep parentheses around it, or you can say, hey, I know. They're there. It's all good. Negative 3 over E minus 2D is equal to W. Do we understand that? Yes or no?
Yes.
Visual, verbal. Alrighty.
Why did you distribute?
Yeah.
Why don't I just do what? Huh? Distribute what? Oh, because the whole point is we want to get W by itself. If I distribute the W, then how many W's will I have the problem with? I'll have 2, and I don't want to have 2, I want to have 1. So the only way we can have just 1 W is by fishing out the W that's in common. And then it's the opposite of the distributive property. Okay. Number 8. Oh, this is a beautiful problem. I can say that this is one of my favorite problems. If I'm saying this is one of my favorite problems, what do y'all think it's going to be? Oh. Do you think you might see it again?
Yeah. No.
If I'm saying it's one of my favorite problems, then that's probably giving you a good indication that it might be here for later. Yay, nay? That's driving me nuts. I know, I can't help it. Okay, so what am I solving for? X. Where's X? Now, there is a multitude of ways that you can handle this. Okay? My way does not have to be your way. How many different deer seasons do we have? Got it. Bow, muzzle loader. What else? Shotgun. What else? Car season. Right? Now, my point is this. No matter how you kill the deer, as long as the deer is what? Dead. I don't care how you do this problem. Your brain is going to think different than the next person and the next person. So whenever I do this problem, that doesn't mean Heather's way is going to be wrong if she does it differently than me. Okay? Which might be different than Nick's. So with that said, somebody tell me what's their gut instinct here for solving for x. What would you like to get rid of first? The 1/2 h. So whenever you say you want to get rid of 1/2 h, I instinctively say I want to do this in how many steps? 2. Why 2? Because the number is what?
1/2.
It's a fraction. And as soon as we see a fraction, we always see what?
Freak out.
We freak out. So why don't we just take one step at a time and say, how can I get rid of that 1/2? Times it by the reciprocal. So what's the reciprocal of 1/2? 2. So I'm going to have 2a, and that's capital A, so please be certain that you write capital A, is equal to h times a plus x. Okay? Now what am I solving for? How many of you instinctively want to distribute that h? You are sitting there saying, this is the order, let's get rid of parentheses first. You can't. So if you want to distribute that, have at it. Totally fine with that. What am I solving for? X. So if I'm solving for x, here's my x. What is attached to my x by addition or subtraction? The AH. So how do I get rid of AH? Subtract it. So if I subtract AH from both sides, I have 2 big A minus AH is equal to HX. What am I solving for? I'm solving for X. What's the matter, honey?
Shouldn't it be HA?
I always put them in alphabetical order. Do you know why I always put my letters in alphabetical order? So when I have like terms, I can quickly and easily find them according to the alphabet. HA is not anything different than AH because multiplication is commutative. Okay? Now, with that said, what is attached to the X? H. So what do I need to do? Divide by H on both sides. Now, both sides means the entire side. So that's going to be 2 capital A minus AH over H is equal to X. Do we all see that problem? Okay, well I'm going to cheat and we're going to redo this problem. For those of you who, I just want you to watch. Okay? Just want you to watch here. And we are going to go from the parentheses. Because not everybody felt the need to distribute that H, did we? Not everybody here was like, yeah, that H doesn't bother me. Does that H bother everybody in the parentheses? No. So how is that H attached to the A plus X? By multiplication. How would I get rid of H? You would divide both sides by H. So if that's the case, if I divide both sides by H, I have 2 capital A over little h is equal to A plus X. Does everyone see that? Now what am I solving for? X. So how do I get rid of the A? I need to subtract the A from both sides. So that's 2 capital A over H minus little a is equal to X. Okay, how in the world? How in the world are these two answers equivalent? Are they the same?
Yeah.
Why? Because it's not a reason. Ethan, what did you just say? Oh, so what you're telling me is if I were to tear this apart on the left-hand side and write it into 2 fractions, what would happen? This h would cancel with that h, and I'd still have 2a over h minus a. Do you see that they are actually the same answer? So why did I show you that just now? That people's answers may be different, and whenever you sit there and say, I'm right, I'm right, and you're fighting about it, maybe you ought to look at each other's work and say, well, did they do it logically? And the answer to that will be yes. Do we understand that? Okay? Excellent. Number 10. Now, what do I want you guys to do right now on number 10? We have done this problem. This problem is very similar to a problem that we've already approached. So what do I want you all to do at this exact moment in time?
Try it on her own.
I want you to try it on your own. So I want everybody to be working on this problem. If it's done, perfection. You rock. Just patiently wait. If it's not done, get busy on it, and then we'll walk around and make sure that you understand. Please hit pause.
Pause that. Oh, found it.
Okay. We highlight the P's. This is where many of you are getting confused. Tell me this. If that KP was actually a 2P, how would you get rid of the 2P? You would subtract it, right? Many of you are getting so lost in the concept that it is actually a variable that you're forgetting how to bring it over from one side to the other side. Ask yourself, is this KP positive or negative? It's positive, so how do I get rid of a positive anything? Subtract it. So if I'm going to do that, I take and subtract KP from both sides. So I have 9P minus KP is equal to negative 7N. Do we see that? Does everybody understand how I got that KP over and why it's subtracting? Visual or verbal? I need to know. Because you all are saying that you got it before I was doing those other problems, but this is the first step that many of you are like, I have no clue what to do. Okay? Now, I have 2 P's, correct? Since I have 2 P's, what do? Go fishing. So what do I need to fish out? I need to fish out a P. So if I fish out a P, what am I left with? 9 minus K. And that's going to equal negative 7N. Do I care about that right-hand side? No, it's not with my letter P, so I can let it tag along like a little sibling, right? Mom's stuck with it, you got to let it tag along. Now, what am I solving for?
P.
Solving for P, so what's attached to P? How is it attached to P? How do I get rid of it? So I'm going to divide both sides, please speak mathematically to me, by 9 minus K on both sides. Do we all see that, yay or nay?
Yeah.
So what am I left with working from left to right? Equals negative 7N over.
9 minus
Do we see that, yes or no?
yeah, 9 squared.
I don't know what I was going to do with that square. We good? Looks like a circle. Okay, number 12. Again, I want you guys to ask yourself, what do I do first? Subtract CY. Because it's just like an awkward little place. I'm solving for B, and I got this C just like saying, what up? No, don't what up me, get away from me, right? I don't want you anywhere near me. So I need to get rid of that C by doing what? Subtracting both sides by C. So that's gone. I'm left with D over B is equal to 5D minus C. Now please watch. All eyes up here. Where is the letter I'm actively trying to solve for? It's in where? Underneath in the denominator. Have we ever had one in the denominator? How do we get stuff out of the denominator? Well, it's in the denominator, meaning it's attached by division. Is that correct? So I could simply put this over 1 and do what, folks? When you have a fraction equaling a fraction, the easiest method is to simply cross multiply every time. Which means if I do that, 1 times D is D, and then I'm going to have B times 5D minus C. Do we see that, yes or no? You say no. What am I solving for? B. What's attached to it? 5B minus C. What operation is attached to it? It's attached by,
Multiplication.
so how do I get rid of it?
Division.
I know that this seems really annoying questions and you all are like, I've answered it 15 times. But yet, I'm afraid that when I let you go all by your lonesome, you are going to fall flat on your face. Any questions over that one? Yes or no? Hey, whoa. Tomorrow, this better be done. Every last problem. Any questions over what I just said? Farewell, goodbye, get out with love.
Isn't the bar going to be 40?